Good afternoon, everyone. So let's have a strategy on essay. Although lots of things have been told on essay and still some of the things to be told, but what we find generally when students write their essay, that even if lots of guidance available, you can say that we have so many strategy sessions, so many model answers, so many resources. But when students write their essay, we find that they are not even adhering to some basic standards, and they have just developed some their own standards you can consider in terms of just writing examples, philosophy, writing linking with this or that aspect. So, you have to understand that unless you adhere to certain rule books called basic aspects, basic fundamentals, the essay will not fulfill the demand which UPSC is having. Means UPSC has its own demand. This first we have to understand. So, let us take that essay, let us when we say, so always I say that it is a long piece of writing. It is a long piece of writing. Then the question is that that long piece of writing should have what we use the term called coherence. This coherence means let's that consistency, continuity. The consistency, continuity, consistency that the views that we express, whether the views are consistent one after another, and let us say that continuity you maintain that one after another the paragraph that you write, so whether they have the link, so or there is somehow let us say dissociation of that link, disruption of that link, and this let us say that consistency and continuity should be let us say guided by what UPSC demands. The UPSC demands that you should have this piece of writing which should be original, so there should be originality. Originality of thought. Do you have originality of thought? Then let us say that in-depth analysis. It should have in-depth analysis means you should have in-depth analysis, that aspect. Then you are able to take the let us say clarity, let us say that there is clarity in your view, the view that you express. Are you let us say very clear, are you very clear, this decisive. So, are you very clear, decisive, do you take stand, clear stand on this, that aspect. Next comes let us say that we should have originality, in-depth analysis, the clarity, let us say that view, plus then it comes also let us say quality of content. Quality of content. So, do you have quality of content? It means that whatever you are writing, do you think that they have certain standards? If they do not have certain standards, then you know that the essay can be of general standard we can consider. So, we do not have to let us become too much concerned about essay. Essay, you are worried about essay or this and that. It is simple, a piece of writing. That piece of writing you have 1000 words, and that 1000 words should be coherent, which should have consistency, continuity, originality, analysis, clear view and quality of content. When we are able to write all these things in our essay, then we can say that it is good essay. Now, let us take further on this. So, if you see UPSC, let us say now that nature, let us say nature of topics. So, nature of topics, then it comes that which types of topics are being asked nowadays. So, one popular aspect we say is that it philosophical topic. This philosophical topic, this, and second we say that other, let us say that other types, this, which we can say that the way essay topics are framed based on, let us say that contemporary developments. This, so other types you can consider, which is difficult to categorize, but other types means you know that the topics which are based on or related to subjects of your GS, different sections, you can say that. So they can be linked to, let us say IR, they can be linked to society, this, they can be linked to education, they can be linked to women, this, they can be linked to economy, this, so they can be linked to technology, this, so they can be linked to, let us say that democracy. So they are the topics, let us say, but philosophical topics are largely, you know that they are quote based. Philosophers, leaders, etc. quotes can be given, that is how you will find this. Now what has happened, another trend in market are, now people are trying to train themselves and they are trying to write largely, let us say, philosophical essay, this is how they are training. But you should understand that UPSC is not asking, and the trend it can also change. UPSC can change its trend also, like that's why let's before proceeding I will try to show you the paper. Last year paper if you see, the 2023 paper if you see, so that paper has, let's say how many philosophical essay. So we can consider it as philosophical essay. We can say philosophical essay, we can say philosophical this, and this is also philosophical. Then it is not a philosophical essay, it is not philosophical, it is not philosophical. It can be considered as philosophical. So what the ratio you get, this 4 plus 1, 5, 5 ratio 3. The 5 you have philosophical essay and 3 you have non-philosophical types, subject knowledge, let's say, they demand subject knowledge type. Like say girls, so that topic, let's say, distinction, boys, it is a relation between, let's say, girls and boy in our society, which can be linked to, let's say, gender. So we can link to, let's say, gender. And if you take this society, it is related to society and justice. It is, let's considered as combination of democracy and society, you can consider this. So this topic you can say, and then it is related to education, let's say, it is basically Einstein statement you can consider. So this education, let's say, which they keep repeating. Now this is how the trend if you find in 2023, but before that they used to ask, largely you should know that, before they will ask largely questions related to philosophical type. Like if you take 2022, all are philosophical, let's say, except one, except let's say forest. The forests are the best case studies for economic excellence. So that can be considered non-philosophical type. This, it is a non-philosophical, but this, they are philosophical we can consider. It means ki here we had the ratio of 7 and 1. This, so here philosophical topics dominated. Same thing happens in, let's say, 2021. In 21 again we will see this. There is a domination of philosophical topic. This, that you can say ki all are philosophical. Then almost, let's say here also, all are philosophical. So this can be the only year, let's say 2021, where all the 8 topics can be considered as philosophical. That is the only, let's say that. If you take 2020, this 2020, so you will not find that. Like, let's take that. What? So it can be philosophical, this philosophical, philosophical, philosophical. This. Then this culture, what we are, civilization. The culture, it will not take it as philosophical. Social justice, economic prosperity, similar question. So this is not. It is not. Patriarchy is related to, again not. This technology, again you will find this. So what you find that in this section you have 4 questions non-philosophical. Here you have 4 questions as philosophical. So its ratio can be, let's say that, this 50-50 you can consider. Same thing if you take, just to establish this fact, if you take 2019, then you will know that this side we can consider almost, let's say this, they are all philosophical. And if you see like this, they are non-philosophical. It is 4, ratio 4, again 50, 50. So what has happened, like the trend, if you see, the 4-5 years trend, this topics, so if you take 4-5 years topics trend, so what we find that we have 50-50 most of the time, philosophical, non-philosophical you can say. And then once it has happened, it has 7 and 1, the 7 philosophical and 1 non-philosophical. This, and again it has happened if you find last year, so let's say 5 and let's say 3. This. So can we say that if you draw like this, can you say that this, the train may be going like this, there may be a train going on like this, and then let's say largely you will find that there is 1 year where we have asked less philosophical. So where we have asked less philosophical, and then again let's say if you take 2023, so in that they have asked this like 5 and 3, 3 non-philosophical. So if you are practicing only philosophical essays, so that means that you are not trying to follow what UPSC trend is. This. The UPSC trend is not only about philosophical essay. UPSC trend is that it also asks non-philosophical essays. This. So in market what we find are people when they are writing, so they are more worried about writing of philosophical essay. This. But equally challenging can be that how good you are in case of non-philosophical essay when we write. Our topics, let's say, we'll find. Now, both topics have their own challenges when we say. Like when we take philosophical topics, so philosophical topics basically they may have their own meaning, which depends how you understand them. Then they don't have any defined structure. They don't have any defined structure. Rather, let's say even defined content. This, they may not have, let's say, that defined content. This, rather it is, let's say, structure and content that you have to decide Means it fully depends on a candidate that what he is going to write on any philosophical topic. This. So, because even if suppose we say something else, you may start with something else, so content can differ. This, although some examples, some facts may match, but let's say that content and structuring will depend on candidate to candidate. This. So, it becomes challenging that how you structure, whether let's say what content you bring. What we have found that when students write their answers, so they have been, let's say, writing philosophical answer. Philosophical means it seems that they have to write so many quotes, they have to write so many examples. This one after another, this is how they keep writing. Most, or let's say there can be two types of candidates. One that they will simply write quotes, example, one after another. That is how they will try to write their essay. The other type is that they may write also, let's say, counter side of that topic, if at all. There are some candidates who write this, but there are candidates who do not write this. So yes, one should know that how any such essay topics should be written, especially philosophical. Although when we say that non-philosophical topics, so non-philosophical topics since they are related to a particular topic or subject, so they may have some, let's that content which like if you take this any question, this question 5, question 7, question 8, so they will have certain, let's say, standards of content which largely, let's say that it will not change when people will write, especially in case of society which has justice, let's say, less charity. So certainly people will try to link with Indian context, the Constitution of India, the programs, schemes, the policies of the government which it may have taken so far. And then they will try to link that how charity and how welfare, other such aspects. Same thing related to education, first time they have not asked. But here, let's say education, so you will focus beyond classroom teaching. This, so in such, you need to have different types of knowledge. You need to have knowledge related to, first thing that basic fundamentals of, let's say, that topic, let's say education, or let's say charity, or let's say society and justice. Then you have to know the government policies, programs, if there is any such law. So legal aspect, the policy aspect, program aspect, that we can consider positive side, negative side. Then certainly you can refer some of the philosophers, leaders' views if they have at all, those aspects. Then you go on linking. So there can be some standards when you write. So they may have they may decide structure, content. Means for them, content and structure can be to some extent fixed. Means it is already, let's say that known. It is not that altogether new thing you are going to write. But when you are writing a philosophical essay, so it depends on you. As I told that, suppose we give a model answer, we write something else, but you may have completely written something else. Means you may have written something different. This, the only you can learn by that how we can write. So the difference we have to understand. And for this, we expect that you should have developed your knowledge on the basis of reading your optional subject and GS papers. Hence, let's say separately you do not need to prepare, although let's say if you see the topics, the way UPSC repeats the topic, not let's say called same, let's say same topics, but it can ask similar topics. Like this education is what remains after, let's say, classroom that you can consider. You can see that once it was asked that the future of a country is written in classroom. This. So it seems to be, let's say, resembling that aspect. The future of the country is written in a classroom. That was Kothari committee statement that they asked. This Einstein statement they have asked. So, but it is related to education topic, similar topics. You will find that there is similarity between both. So it shows that some of the topics you can guess related to society, related to education, related to health, related to technology. Like if you take this society related question, a society that has more justice, so less charity. So there is a similar question if you see in past years. This question 6. So it is also related to social justice. There can be no social justice without economic prosperity, blah, blah, like all these things. So you'll find that this topic is also related to social justice or justice. That topic was also related to justice, but that is talking about charity, it is talking about social justice, linking with economic aspect and other aspects. So there can be similarity. So when you are having non-philosophical topics, so what you should do is that you should try to analyze. In case of non-philosophical topics, you take 20 years paper, or not 20 years, take 10 years paper. And in that 10 years paper, you can analyze that which topics generally they ask this, and that area you can prepare. Let's say that society is one such, they ask. Generally one aspect, education in another area, but certainly last year they have asked education. So we don't think that they are going to have, let's say, that a topic related to education. That can be skipped, but society is very broad. Another area that they ask is gender. Gender related. Next is called technology. So technology related question, then it can be, let's say that this economics, and then can be science. This, if you prepare them on the basis of your GS knowledge, and then you should prepare in terms of, let's call, basic aspect, government policies, programs, then some good quotes, some good examples, positive side, negative side, this plus, let's say, your own view on that. Basically it's overall understanding, that what understanding you have, that becomes more important than the facts and example that you write. People think that, students think that I was not able to write some good facts, some good examples. Yes, good facts and good examples can impress, but you know that many a time how you articulate that becomes more important. Yes, we'll come to that. So since nowadays it has become more of recorded type culture. Right. So I was in that mode. Right. This you came meanwhile. So what we say that we'll tell that. So we were saying that yes, that people write answers, and those answers they think that facts and example, yeah, they see other person's facts and example. So market is going through this aspect, who is writing how many good facts, how many good quotations, and we compare with that. And since we may not have been able to write some good facts, good examples, so we think since I did not write that, so that's why I did not get good marks in essay paper. But that is not true. Why it is not true? So what students have not been understanding is that whether they understand the essay at all, first thing. So whether they have understood essay topic. This, the essay is not about facts and example. First you should understand the essay topic. If you do not understand the essay topic, so entire content is wrong. This. So are you having a focus also that you are able to understand the essay topic? This. That is how many people will understand this meaning, what this question was talking about. Whatever the question they have given, Will they have a right interpretation, whatever the topic select? But I will talk about this. A society that has more justice is a society that needs less charity. This. So, are you going to write its essence? Are you going to, it is called qualified right. Fundamental rights को क्या बोलते हैं? Qualified rights. This. Similarly, let's say content should qualify. Qualify means you are able to crack it. This. So you are able to crack the meaning of this. And cracking the meaning of this is that are you able to prove, not only crack, but prove with force how a society which is we considered as justice, it has less charity. Why we say it? This is the main aspect. No? This is the main focus of the essay. This, but what we are trying to do? We are trying to do like this. We start introduction, we start this body part, we'll write something here, this, we'll go on giving examples, facts, we'll keep giving, then finally we move towards way forward and conclusion. That is how we'll do. Now, what students will do in this body part? So they will have uniform approach. This सारे segment को equal focus. All segments in the essay, whatever they are writing, they will give equal focus. This, but question is that you have to prove that why, let's say more justice means less charity. So you don't have to be like this. You have to be like this. This is the main focus. The flow in the essay. This. The flow in the essay, let's say that, we can say that. Like say in this class, we cannot speak in the same uniform fashion. We slow down also, we become fast also, become loud also, low also. This, that is how the natural aspect. So what we are finding in the essay that people are writing, they think that कि हर चीज को equal focus देना है. So when they have to give everything equal focus, so then the main focus is lacking. Then what UPSC was saying, this UPSC demands in-depth analysis. Do we have in-depth analysis? So we don't say it in-depth analysis. We say in our language surface level answer, or more extreme to shallow answer. This. So just moving over the surface, not going into deep down that, let's say, and unless you go into deep down of this, it will not be considered as, it will not touch the heart of examiner. This, something should touch the heart of examiner. This, so that is how, let's say, when you read yourself any article, so what you read in any article? कोई भी article आप day to day newspaper आप पढ़ रहे हो, you are reading newspaper. In this newspaper, what you do? You read everyday article, but not all articles will be heart touching. The articles you feel heart touching, so even you tell and share to your friends. This is a good article. Now analyze that good article. What that good is? वो good क्यों है? इसलिए कि सिर्फ facts आया है उसमें, इसलिए कि example आया है, या उसने बात को ऐसे कह दिया है कि वो heart touching है. So essay, that article is good not because of facts. Facts तो every day आ रहा है. Not because of examples. अगर facts और example होगा तो वो that will tell you, आप दूसरे से ये बोलोगे कि अच्छा facts आया है. Right. Read that article, there are good facts. This is how you will say. You will not say that कि such a heart touching article. आज बहुत अच्छा article आया है, ये नहीं बोलोगे. You will say that कि there are some good facts, you see that. Yes. So try to understand where is your focus. What students are trying, They are not trying to improve their writing skill, that is called articulation. Basically, that article is heart touching because the way it has been articulated, not all those who write in newspaper are articulative. This you also know that. Since it is difficult to achieve habit because it demands more practice, what students are doing is that they are having easy way out. Easy way out is what? Essay preparation. So gather some information, gather those are quotes, gather some facts, and when essay you are writing, so just right, vomit, this is how can say that. Just write them unmindful of fact that whether those facts are relevant to the question. Yes. We can show you n number of essays written by people. This what exactly they write. I will show you that today was test. Some people have written test. Yes, basically it was a test discussion, but we converted into strategy. So the question is that I saw someone writing essay. So we have asked a question related to a lead, let's say a good leader is one who says we have done it rather than I have done it. A simple topic, because we have been expecting a question related to leader because of elections, blah blah, all these things going on, just to have a diversity of the topic. So what example he is giving in negative side? So he has written Aurangzeb. Whether Aurangzeb was a leader, this is how he is a ruler. Any ruler is not a leader, you know that. This, even if you are giving a negative example, you can have so many negative. Stalin you can write, Napoleon you can write that Hitler you can write, isn't it? Or present day example you can write, those who have concentrated power, Putin, Turkey president, that you can say Chinese president. You have so many better examples. Why to write Aurangzeb? Because औरंगजेब को आप प्रूव नहीं कर सकते ना, he was a ruler, not a leader, let's say that. This. So the thing is that the example that you write, this is how the challenge that you think that आप लोगों ने बता दिया, कुछ हिस्ट्री से एग्जाम्पल लाओ, कुछ माइथोलॉजी से लेके आओ, कुछ फिलोसफी से लेके आओ, कुछ this isn't it? मार्केट में यही चल रहा होता है. So those things should also be done, but at the same time, you need to learn to write a piece of essay, which I always say that essay it is just a piece of writing. If you cannot write a piece of article, so what you can write? This is how you should tell to yourself. If you cannot write a piece of article of 1000 words in such continuity, in coherence, with some in-depth analysis, so then let's say that it's very challenging. First, you will start writing once you set your goal that I have to write that way. Don't worry about, let's say, called marks and other things. You fulfill the conditions of essay writing demanded by UPSC. This not demanded by market, not demanded by those who have written, let's say that. Are you fulfilling the demand of UPSC? Or you are fulfilling the demand of toppers? This, because you will not be able to evaluate their essays yourself because you do not read that way. No? You are just seeing their examples and facts and comparing yourself. This. So that is what, let's say, we always give emphasis, and people have benefited, people benefit every year. Since we have been also guiding people, not, let's say, it's almost, let's say, since 2013, as far as new syllabus is concerned, people have secured marks. So we think that when we have been guiding and people are securing marks, so then it is also working. This, and people come and join us also, so it means they have some faith in us. That's why this year we got 13th rank. From essay, let's say essay test series, the highest rank, 13th rank. Every year we get this or that ranks. But again, that is not the point, just to reinforce what we are saying. The question is that you have to set, whether you are setting an easy task for yourself or you want to set, let's say, a decent one, let's say that a standard one task that I have to improve myself, because essay writing is not just what you are trying to write. Because nowadays when we find that when people are writing essay, so in that essay examples and facts are more visible than what in exact practice essay is. Yes, our linkages are more visible कि आपने इससे link कर दिया, उनसे link कर दिया. That is what we can say. Rather than, let's say, कि talking about any that aspect, before we take, let's talk some basic aspects कि what we should do before writing. So then we will discuss like this. The first thing is that understanding, you should understand that understand essay, this, then brainstorm. So brainstorm that what you will write. In this brainstorm, let's give when you do, so you should think that what facts you can write, major facts, examples that you can write. So facts and example on positive side, on negative side, this, how, let's say, links you'll establish. So how you will link it, that whether you will link with different aspects of the things. So whether you will link, let's say that common people, आजकल लोग डे टू डे लाइफ से लिंक करना भूल जाते हैं, बड़े चीजों के बारे में चक्कर में रहते हैं ज्यादा. दिस, तो बेसिक चीजों से लिंक हम नहीं करते हैं बड़े चीजों के चक्कर में. दिस आई विल शो दैट. सो कॉमन पीपल, सेल्फ, not self, but let's say that this is how we can consider it. Common people are basic aspect of life. This society, various aspects of society, then this is how nation, national, international aspect, blah blah things, this is how. So you should, let's say that facts, examples, this you can say. Then quotes, if you can write any quotes, this quotes about leaders. Then your stand, let's say, what should be your stand, view. What should be your stand? What should be your view on that? That stand and view depends on the theme of the essay. This. So, and then let's say that after brainstorming, you generally go for structuring it. You structure essay, this, and that is how thereafter you write this. So certainly there should be an element of planning before we start writing. Although planning will not be what it used to be before 2013, half, let's say like half time for planning, half time for writing, because there was oneness. Yes. So that aspect can be. Now let's say that first thing is about understanding essay first, which is again, let's say that basic fundamentals. Never forget basic fundamentals. गलती मत करो. Don't become overconfident. This, and you have practice it. जब आप practice करते हो, test लिखते हो, तो आप basic fundamentals adhere करो ना, समझने की कोशिश करो. Try to understand what the essay is demanding. Don't have overconfidence or let's say underconfidence, that we can say. Rather, you need to see that ki whether essay, let's ki how we understand basically. It is a traditional way to understand essay. We say who, what, why, how, this. So that way, let's say we try when. These are some of the things which help you understanding, let's say this. So who can be that key? Let's say whether this quote has been given by anyone, who has given that as this, or who, let's say that any quote that you have. So whether you can link with anyone, or if it is means who is indicating that whether anything, any personality is linked with this. This. What is that? What exactly essay is demanding? Right. What it is demanding? This. So, and this determines, let's say that most important aspect, demand. GS में तो चल जाता है क्योंकि आपके पास हैबिट नहीं है. It depends that कि let's see how you have the habits. In GS paper, let's say that you don't have habits of following commands, and then you have to write 150 words, 250 words, तो वो चल जाता है. Since there are 20 questions also, so in one question you do not follow commands, so a permutation combination, sell through, not a problem. So when you have habit of not following, the here also the same habit repeated. In fact, your writing skill in GS paper is also reflection of your writing skill in essay paper. It's very obvious. Now let's say ki demand. Do you understand demand? Demand means, let's say ki first thing is that what is the main demand? Main, let's say that ki demand means meaning, you can say, which we say that ki theme. What is the theme of the essay? This the theme means meaning. Then this is our thesis. This is antithesis. So whether you should write thesis only I have to write, or I have to write a bit of antithesis also. This. So do we have this? So whether you understand the main meaning, and then whether, let's say thesis, how much I have to write. Right. So how much in favor you have to write, that depends on the nature of the topic. This. Nature of the topic. Then antithesis, you'll find that, are you writing, do you have a reverse thinking on that? This. So that aspect you can say, are you brainstorming yourself all these things? और आप ऐसे टॉपिक देखते ही इस चक्कर में पड़ गए कि क्या फैक्ट्स लिखूंगा, क्या एग्जाम्पल लिखूंगा, क्या स्टोरी लिखूंगा. This, the focus is that you are not trying to understand the essay. Right. You know, if you don't do, if you are not trying to understand essay, so you know that rest efforts are wasteful exercise. This. Now, so that is what we will tell that. Then question comes कि why. जैसे कि क्यों स्टेटमेंट दिया गया है. किसी भी स्टेटमेंट को हम ले सकते हैं लास्ट ईयर. जैसे मान लो ये लेते हैं. फिलोसफिकल वाले में थोड़ा सा चैलेंज है. मतलब ऑलरेडी वी हैव अ डिस्कशन. इफ यू वांट टू वॉच, तो वी हैव अ डिस्कशन ऑफ दिस ऑल टॉपिक्स. आई हैव टेकन 7 topics I took. One was taken by Abhijit. It is available on YouTube. You can watch it. Even model answers are there. You can read it. But let's take, since it is a strategy, to take easy thing, right? This education remains, let's say that, forgotten. Ab, what exactly it is demanding? Yeah, when someone has said it, what was his, let's say, what is his thinking behind this statement? Right. Obvious thinking is coming that, see, whatever we learn in the school, they may be very bookish type. No? They may be very bookish type, and they may not help develop our, let's say that, all those senses, social, moral, intellectual, emotional aspects of human. This is how it is. They may, let's say that, develop one aspect. This. But let's say if they were able to develop a good personality, a good character, that is how you carry forward. Other details which are more bookish type, which just to pass the examination. So we read just to pass the examination. This from standard 1 to let's say whatever the thing you have done. So you pass it. It does not have, it is not, let's say, adding anything in your personality. This you are doing for the sake of doing. But a good education, a good schooling means it should have help you build your personality and character. This is how it is trying to say. So now who were the people who gave emphasis on building personality and character? Not necessarily this education, this scholastic education जिसको बोला जाता है. This. So who were people? Or you can tell that the Macaulay Minute and the kind of education was introduced in India, it took away the beauty of the personality development. That critic you can say. But we had Tagore, he talks about open school system. Right. This, or Mahatma Gandhi, others, etc. So the question is that are you relating, let's say, this, what is the thinking behind that? This. And when, let's say, you are able to relate to those people, so you are trying to go by the theme. This, that is how why. So why we have given this. So why that question is because education is more important than the knowledge that you get. Right. It is the education which will teach you how to live life, not necessarily the bookish knowledge. Or class 10th, let's say percentage you got 90%, that may not have much meaning. Even if people may have got lots of gold medalists, this and that, but they fail to live their life. This.
On schools, but can we link to the education with parental education or parent wherever the something societal, what society also that is also can we link
that? But that is secondary thing, because question is mentioning about school. Yes, since question is mentioning about school or more, let's say the thing you are saying is that can be very a paragraph you can add. Right. Yes, just a paragraph you can add, but entire focus should be on school, curriculum, education. It's a history that we have in our country, let's say that, especially linking with Macaulay Minutes, and then this kind of education system was adopted which is largely criticized, and then there are, let's say, reverse type of school, alternative schools, which, let's say, they claim that they are focusing more on education rather than literacy. This. So you go on building those details we can consider. This, that is what, let's say, that we were trying to say. So this demand, let's say, by why, then how, etc. you can ask. When is that, let's say, that it is linked to something, let's say, whether it is linked to, let's say, like when that topic is given, when it was spoken, what was the context. So when can talk about the context. This. So basically they are some basic tools which we can apply, and they can help you understand that essay, what essay means. This. And once you understand, so this is one aspect. After understanding, then you can have brainstorming. That then you can have, this is how the brainstorming, that what you have to write. This. Now, when you are writing, let's say, what to write, the facts and examples, so then you were asking about how to write good facts. This. So when you are, let's say, brainstorming, so you will basically, let's say, facts, examples. We say that you should write some fundamental facts first. Fundamental facts. Fundamental facts. Or fundamental examples. Any example or any fact you cannot write. This. What we find is that कि आप कुछ भी किसी भी context में आपने कोई भी चीज लिख दिया. दिस। सो वो फंडामेंटल नहीं हो सकता है दिस। जैसे आप एजुकेशन का ही लिख रहे हैं ना, तो मैकाले मिनट्स एज वी टोल्ड दैट, सो दैट रिमेन्स लेट्स से कि वन फंडामेंटल फैक्ट, बिकॉज दैट इज हाउ एजुकेशन स्टार्ट्स दिस। So that way we can consider. Thereafter, it is the Kothari committee which said that education. Yes. And now you have education policy 2020. If you talk in very, let's say that brief manner, some fundamental things, right? This. So are we writing that fundamental one? Or we are just writing ki just hum, just we kept writing here and there things like this aspect. That is how we mean by when we talk some fundamental aspect, right? So you need to ask yourself ki whether this topic has some good facts, right, which I am lacking, or I am not trying to write, or I should write this, that aspect. Or let's say that ki the example you are writing, so whether do we have example which can exactly suit to this. So there should be a bit of thinking on that already, since you have worked on your facts and examples. It may not be very difficult. It all depends on the habit that you have built. That which kind of habit we have built about facts and examples. This, while discussing any topic, I will give you that example how it could happen. This, or we have this was our topic. Then means today test, this is how conducted. So on these topics, this any topic, let's say that you can take. This is my philosophical one. So इसमें कोई fundamental fact होना मुश्किल है, मतलब you cannot say कि this is a fundamental fact. It depends on your area of knowledge और आप facts दे सकते हैं, right? Right is duty well performed. Now let's say that this. अब इसमें fundamental facts क्या हो सकता है, isn't it? So fundamental facts, let's say it can be related to do we have a something which we can say right and duties that we talk. एक fundamental fact तो यही हो गया जो constitution है, that our constitution gives rights, this you can say, and those rights you can consider in terms of, let's say that in fundamental rights the rights are given, and then you have duties, the fundamental duties. That is one aspect to consider. This second aspect is that we have emphasis in our philosophy about duties more than rights. This, like say we have Nishkam Karma idea of Nishkam Karma by Gita, let's say that. Dharma is the duty of all, Kautilya talks about this. So that aspect we can consider. Basically it is a statement of Mahatma Gandhi. This. Then now in present thereafter can we link it? अब उसके बाद क्या link कर सकते हैं? So another important aspect is when 70 years of Indian Constitution was celebrated, so its theme was duties and responsibilities. This, citizens should have their duties and responsibilities. That can be one aspect. अब आपको theme तो पता होना चाहिए. This, although let's say people can go and write so many things on that, but when you talk fundamental facts, this is what I will tell you. Now, since you want to link your essay with current also, so let me tell you that another place where duties have been brought recently, while hearing Article 370, the duty of the petitioner was brought into question by, let's say, Solicitor General. This. And therefore the petitioner had to give in written, petitioner gave in written that he has allegiance to Indian Constitution. Yes. अब अगर आपको ये सब पता है, मान लो थोड़ा सा करंट, देखो करंट पे तो मैं बाद में आऊंगा, अगर आपको थोड़ा सा करंट पता होना चाहिए, इसलिए कि यू आर लिविंग इन दिस सोसाइटी ना. When you are living in this society, if you are not have your essay does not reflect certain current developments, तो somehow ऐसे तो dissociate हो जाएगा. This. So although yes, it is something elusive, we do not expect that any candidate is going to write, but at least we expect कि when duties की बात हो रही है तो themes 70 years वाला तो पता होना चाहिए. नहीं भी पता है तो let's take that कि निष्काम कर्मा वाला कोई भी philosophical duties तो पता होना चाहिए, that you can link. So that can be considered as something fundamental. This is how we mean by fundamental facts. This, and that we can consider. So this is what we say fundamental facts. Then brainstorming, when you do the facts and examples that we have told, then you have to talk, this is how, let's say that thesis and antithesis. Thesis and antithesis. This. Now in the same topic, let's say if you take, right is the duty well performed. So certainly let's say largely you will support it. But will it have any antithesis? Certainly there will be antithesis. Right. It will have also antithesis. Why? It is not necessary that citizens' fundamental rights will be denied if they do not have performed their fundamental duties. It is not necessary. This. In the same case, when Supreme Court was hearing in 370, when Solicitor General told this to Chief Justice, basically he was shocked by Solicitor General's stand. Although he readily agreed, yes, we will take his undertaking. Next day when he came, he said that it was uncalled for. We do not go on the background of the petitioner while deciding the case. This. Anyhow, so just to tell. So see, Western countries have given more emphasis on rights. Fundamental duties are not part of their constitution. This, the duties they do not expect, rather they give a more emphasis on rights, let's say that. So there can be a bit of antithesis. There can be a bit of antithesis. That is how I can say. And if you are not writing antithesis, so again let's say it is somehow, let's say, is an aspect of that. This is what you should think. How much means whether I have to give thesis, whether I have to give antithesis, that should be taken into consideration. And that is how, let's say, that stage. Then it comes, once if you structure it, structure and structuring, let's say this is how we follow in terms of structuring. Introduction we follow, interpretation we follow, elaboration, way forward, and conclusion. This way forward and conclusion. Now let me say that it is not needed to write all this. These terms you will not write in essay. Headings are not written in essay. It is presumed कि पहला पैराग्राफ लिख रहे हो तो इंट्रोडक्शन है, पहला दूसरा पैराग्राफ भी दूसरा भी इंट्रोडक्शन ही हो सकता है. It is not necessary. Big paragraph should not be written, let's say that. Then thereafter what you do? So we start, we introduce something, so you can talk with any nowadays story. People write story, let's say quotes, this context. That is how you go on writing. Right. So you frame any story. Many a time it looks stereotype. Because 3-4 साल से लोग तो स्टोरी ही लिख रहे हैं. Do we have any innovation? Because it stereotype it becomes, no? Then mechanical it becomes one trend. एक ही trend UPSC में हमेशा नहीं चलता है. Yes. आप कॉन्टेक्स्ट लिख सकते हैं, किसी इंसिडेंट से लिंक कर सकते हैं, instead of story, let's say that. That is how, because many a time it seems to be artificial. Right. Deliberately, suppose you are trying to, let's say, frame a story. If it is not linked to any historical aspect, if it is related to historical aspect, mythological aspect, recent developments, it's better to link it. But when you are creating a story, it seems to be a bit artificial, let's say that, and you may do justice, you may not do justice. This, that way we can consider. Then that is what introduction part I will tell. This, I should go to different page to tell this thing. Right. So when someone is writing, this is the page. The introduction should not go more than that. Let's say this. You can write 2 paragraphs also, but don't write more than that, because if you write only 1 paragraph and that paragraph come to this, तो इसका जो presentation है वो अच्छा नहीं लगेगा. Yes, that is how we should try to do that. Then second is called interpretation. See, interpretation is what? Now let's say why we say that you should write interpretation without writing in the heading. Once you are done with this, so then let's say you should use, right, let's define, right, let's define what exactly it means when we say this education, like this, that. तो इस तरह से वर्ड करोगे ना तो वो कंटिन्यू हो जाएगा. या हैविंग सेड दैट, नो वी यूज हैविंग सेड दैट, राइट. दिस आर बिफोर वी स्टार्ट, राइट, deliberating, right, on what education means when let's say we go to school, or this the topic, let's say that. Before we, let's say, start deliberating on that, let's understand what education means. This. So you define education. Similarly, let's define what leader means. Let's define any other what. Let's define that what rights are. What are rights? What are duties? This. So when you relate, and that becomes related to philosophical essence. बाकी जो अगर आप नॉन फिलोसफिकल है तो उसके बाद आप तो हिस्ट्री से शुरू हो जाते हैं आप. So basically, let's say that the after introduction, your next paragraph starts with this. अगर आप इसे स्टार्ट करोगे तो अगर आपने ऐसे का मीनिंग नहीं समझा है, हो सकता है ये करते समय आपको समझ में आ जाए. This. Just imagine what we find is that people write entire essay, but they fail to write what is right. They fail to write what is duty. This is not coherent answer. Yes. So that is what we have to understand. So this way we can define it. Then further we go on. Basically it is related to definition, a bit of elaboration, not details. Then we go main is elaboration. This becomes, it is the main aspect. So we go on elaborating. Elaboration is that rights and duties have been debated throughout the history. Let's that in our society, that how in ancient time you can consider even our text mythology. You can say that philosophy talks about duties like nishkam karma, this and that. That way, this is how we can go on building it. So you can start elaborating it. Once you elaborate it, so try to understand. One is called evolution. One aspect is called evolution. You are writing evolution, but at certain, let's say, place, you have to stop and build on that. Elaborate means go into in-depth aspect of that. This. So you should not entire essay should not become evolutionary in nature. What we are finding is that in students, entire essay becomes evolutionary in nature. It does not stop at one place and goes on analyzing the main aspect. So somewhere you have to argue about rights and duty. देखिए, एक तो होता है कि आप लिंक करते चले गए, तो लिंक इज नॉट एक्सप्लेनेशन. Link is not explanation. This you should know. Now the question is that are you explaining कि rights are duties earned, duties performed? क्या मतलब होता है? How it is? Right. What does it mean, and are we able to explain कि yes it is true? Can we say कि rights are duties performed? Right. So are you explaining it, or just you have linked निष्काम कर्मा, गीता फिलोसफी, कौटिल्य, महात्मा गांधी, इंडियन कॉन्स्टिट्यूशन? आजकल के बच्चे मीन्स क्या कर रहे हैं? ये लिंक कर रहे हैं, वो एक्सप्लेन नहीं करेगा. राइट. कि इसका मतलब क्या है? इसका मतलब ये है कि आपको लिंक ये कैसे करना होगा, यहां पर इसको इलैबोरेट करना पड़ेगा आपको. क्या what are rights? Right. So rights are given generally as per our constitution. We can say citizens enjoy fundamental rights, but even if they are given rights, can they enjoy that rights? That they cannot enjoy, because it is just a constitutional promise. It's a normative. It is a normative promise in a document that every citizen is equal. But every citizen is not equal. Every citizen is not equal. If citizens are getting equal rights, तो आप civil servant बनते ही नहीं. Hey, why you want to become civil servant? You want to do something. For whom? Citizens. Why? Others have not done. Right? So basically, let's say that we have rights also and we have duties also. But what is happening is that we are claiming rights, but we are not performing duties. Each citizen is in this society having this or this capacity he is serving. Each citizen serves this society in this or that capacity. A citizen is a doctor, a citizen is engineer, civil servant, prime minister, chief justice, this manager, this and that. And each that citizen in different capacity is not performing duty. And when that citizen is not performing duty, so non-performance is resulting into those people who should realize their, let's say, rights, for them they should perform duty, they will not realize their rights. This, like an investigating agency. If an investigating agency does not perform its duty and investigate impartially, so those people who are innocent, they will be punished. It is against rule of law under Article 14. So you have right means rule of law you are supposed to enjoy, but that rule of law depends on someone's duties performed. Right. Now, collectively if you take that people are not since performing their duties, so they are not able to realize their, exercise their rights. Right. You become victim also, you become victimizer also. This. So that's why Mahatma Gandhi is saying that duties unless you perform, rights you cannot exercise. That's why to implement Article 14, we have to first implement DPSP. Right? We have to implement 15 and 16, reasonable classification. So to enjoy equality, you have introduced socio-justice, let's say, economic intervention. So when socio-economic intervention you have introduced, so then people life will become better and that they will enjoy their rights. This. So basically, there is a complex relationship between duty and rights. But I will tell you that, even I will bet you that you give this essay anyone to write, people will not explain it. People will focus on writing examples, writing facts, referring this, that, and move on. This. So when they move on without explaining this is evolutionary essay. This. And then, as we were saying that once you are done with this, then we have to see that whether in this is the thesis part. This is the thesis part. Then it comes the antithesis. This, and in antithesis, that is how I was trying to say that. See, duties citizens should perform, but let's say they should get rights. When there is a creation of a state, now आप state के ऊपर आओगे ना कि when a state has been created with a social contract, so duty has been shifted to state. That state should perform its duty so that people are able to experience their rights. This. So it is more about state guaranteeing rights to people rather than seeking their duties. Many a time there are two-way relationship. If rights are not guaranteed, so people have grievance, they can have anguishes, and when they have anguishes, so they become frustrated and they will not try to perform their duty because they become dissatisfied. Like say let's people have also duty to vote in elections. This. Yes, why they are not voting it? Because they know that governments are more or less, all parties are more or less same. Because the parties as a government has failed to govern, that's why they have developed that kind of disillusionment. This. So there is a two-way relationship. Like duty performed, yes, it will bring rights. That is how in Western society. Western society is dutiful. People are law obedient. So when they are law obedient, the most of the people can also exercise their rights. This. But at the same time, the governments have also been able to deliver. They are competent, and that's why people have less grievance and get better satisfaction. The people will cooperate when they have satisfaction. This. So it's a two-way process we can consider. And that is how we can take the relationship between them. Although duties create moral obligation, but in modern times there is a constitutional system, and constitutional system guarantees rights to people. In fact, guaranteeing of right is considered even, let's say that very important, that you have justiciable part in our constitution. Although means we will not become so much technical like writing legalistic and polity type, but then we can show a bit of this. That is what we can say. Then it comes after that way forward. This. See, when you have questions which are non-philosophical, the non-philosophical may way forward when you write, but so you can write some those points which we are going to take. Government is going to take, governments have taken, national, international level, those things have been taken. Like say if it is related to climate change, efforts related to climate change, that can be. If it is related to, as we told that, socio-economic justice, so recent steps taken by the government, or future steps that can be taken. So we can write a bit, some facts type of things can be written, not points, but while writing paragraph, we can write some facts. And then we can conclude. But if it is philosophical type, then we do not write that way. If it is philosophical type, so we do not write. So what we do is that, essay we try to slow down our argument. We were writing thesis, we are writing antithesis, now we move towards concluding side. So एक conclude कर नहीं सकते. So we just slow down our argument. We create a room to conclude this. So creating a room to conclude, that can be considered a sort of moving towards way forward and conclusion. This, that is what we can talk as far as this way forward is concerned, etc. is concerned. This, so that is how it can be. And so at least one I will, although we have explained this one, I should explain one more aspect, one more, let's say, this. At least one more so that anyone, any topic, which one you like to? Right. So in this test, first test, we kept a bit less philosophical topic, this you can say. Like if first topic is a bit philosophical one, hope wala. And other we have tried to relate because of recent all these things, let's say that. Since it is also first test, so just it should be something less you are able to write, people are able to write that. This, so this outcome of election in a democracy is the reflection of the moral pulse of society. So now let's see such topics. Now you know that the recent elections have been conducted, right? So when you write introduction, so you can write a summary, let's say that. A summary of outcomes, let's say that. This not being so factual, but simply we can say that how recently elections were conducted and the election outcomes have given fragmented mandate, which showed that people underwent changes, because before that the government enjoyed, there was complete majority. But when people have not given complete majority, which the same people gave for 2 terms complete majority, it shows that there will be certain thinking behind, let's say, thinking of people behind the electoral outcome, although other factors also play important role. This thinking is that it can be largely there can be dissatisfaction, so people may be dissatisfied, or as per the news reports you can say that how there are certain declining standards, right? Some declining standards of morality in politics, this, which can be, let's say, a sense of dissatisfaction among people, or people may have dissatisfaction. This, that way we can consider. Or we can say that in elections, let's say in elections there are so many factors, but in a sense the conscience of people ultimately shows its weights. Yes. People may be manipulated by this or that facts, but still the collective conscience of the people can, let's say, have profound influence on any elections. That's why we find that even ruling parties are not able to secure their victory in elections, not only in India but also in other countries. And this year election also shows the same. Yes. So you can explain with any such context, let's say that. A context that you are writing, that way you can write. Or लेट्स से दैट कि आप यू कैन क्रिएट, अब आप क्या करोगे, बच्चे क्या करेंगे, आप किसी इलेक्शन का एक स्टोरी क्रिएट करेंगे, बस स्टोरी क्रिएट करेंगे, उस स्टोरी से कि 2 लोग आपस में बात कर रहे हैं, वो भी एक हो सकता है जनरेट, या 4-5 लोग बात कर रहे हैं दिस कि किसको वोट देना है, ठीक, कौन सही है कौन गलत है, किस क्या हम उस बेसिस पे वोट दे सकते हैं. Yes. Tea stall scenario, let's say that. Some people, let's say they have blind faith in this party, party A, party B. One person says that, I will vote a party which, let's say, does good for the society. तो आप ऐसे भी story create कर सकते हैं. Yes. So that can also be one introduction. Yes. Now after introduction, let's say when we go for interpretation. So interpretation is, let's say, election outcomes, let's say that. Election outcomes and moral pulse, this, उसको हमें interpret करना है. So we can relate with elections. Elections are let's say democracy is, let's say any state becomes democratic state because of elections or system of elections. This, so a democratic state means an elected government. The method of election may differ depending on the nature of that democracy. Like in our country, we have the first past the post system. And in our country, elections are held every 5 years. In those elections, all people can vote. Those who are eligible, let's say, of 18 years of age or plus. This, so that is basic. So that is how, and recently this is how election was conducted, which one can say 18th Lok Sabha election. And since India is the biggest democracy in the world, it was the biggest elections in the world, which was also closely watched by, let's say that ki world, let's say that ki yes. So that way, this is how can say it. That way you can relate a bit. Just interpretation, let's say this. And then elections are supposed to be free and fair. This is how. So there is another angle of free and fair elections. And when elections are free and fair, so this is how it is linked that the free and fair is something that people have to take a call. People have to become judgmental. Which party is right and which party is wrong. And that is how a moral aspect comes into this. And when, since it is a collective response by the people, so we can say that ki election outcomes are linked to moral pulse of the people. तो ये एक तरह से interpretation एक हो जाता है, right? Then we go for elaboration. And elaboration, now we'll focus on election outcome. So having discussed, let's say, the basis of elections, the main question is that whether election outcomes are necessarily moral pulse of the society, right? अब now question क्या है? Negative. मतलब थोड़ा सा नेगेटिव टोन है क्वेश्चन का. तो फिर क्वेश्चन का नेगेटिव टोन है तो पहले हम वो लिखेंगे दिस कि हाउ इलेक्शंस मे नॉट नेसेसरली आउटकम्स विल बी moral pulse of the society. And then we go on talking about elections. We may go and talk about elections. Then we talk how what happens in elections, how in fact morality is destroyed in elections. This, and how, let's say, there is a moral decline. So you can talk about election, electoral expenditure, electoral speeches, and political parties, their behavior. Some of the conducts also you can refer, let's say that. This, where we can say that there, those things were manifestation of decline of the moral aspect. So elections outcome can be manipulated, and even you can show some of the countries. Like say recently Bangladesh you can say, Pakistan you can say that, Iran you can say that. This, there are countries where elections are not necessarily reflection of moral pulse of the society because they can be manipulated. Between elections and people, there are so many processes which can play a role of intervening variable. This, they can manipulate. So in our country it can be, let's say, media, disinformation. So we have two types of media. One media, mainstream, it supports party A, and alternative media, it supports party B. Then citizens will not be able to get right information. This, so when they will not get right information, so they cannot make an informed decision. So, and if suppose they want to make an informed decision, they will not be able to make. And that way they will be misguided, misled. At the same time, other factors also mislead people, like caste, religion, communal aspect. This, how these things are stoked, the emotions are stoked. Okay. So even if people want to act in moral way, but they can be swayed, they can be manipulated in such a way that they will act more in emotional way rather than moral way. This, like you can see what is happening in Ajodhya. Right. Ajodhya, let's say a candidate has lost from a particular party. What people are saying that? So rather than saying it is a victory of democracy, it is a victory of democracy that people are free to exercise their rights. Now what you are saying, no, Ajodhya means that people should necessarily vote to a party. So then when these factors come, morality is lost. But electoral victory has showed their moral pulse. Religion has not resulted into people voting in that. That can be a good story. So that is what we are trying to say, you will go and build your answer on that, talking rather how elections may not necessarily be moral pulse. After writing that thesis, or let's say that ki part, then you go to the antithesis part. Now you will show that even if there are so many things between people and free and fair elections, moral pulse, parties, agendas, elections, ED, investment, right? EDs, threats, political vendetta, suppression of facts, disinformation, still people can have their show of conscience, show of wisdom, because collective will is much more powerful than even weapon. People's power is much more, let's say, powerful than even weapon, let's say that. And people can have their own wisdom. Means even if they are trying to be manipulated, they are trying to be emotionally stoked, but still they will not get stoked. They may apply their political wisdom. They may think about their country. They may think about their future. They can judge a leader, whether judge is a megalomaniac leader, a judge is a principle-based leader, whether a leader wants to act for the country or wants to act for self-benefit. So this is how, let's say that a public has sab jante. This, so we can tell. Yes, we can quote in Hindi, but in bracket you translate in, yes, yes, yes. You can translate into English. Yes. So, quote in Hindi, quote in Sanskrit, we can write this. Sanskrit wala you do not need to write in English because Sanskrit is common for all. This, but Hindi mein ye hai ki we need to write in English also. Yes, that you can say. So that is what we can say that. Then we can show that, see, still people can show. That's why even if mandate is fragmented, but there is, let's say that, thinking behind. People have shown their thinking, although they may be divided, but they have shown their thinking. They are not trying to give just let's say that overwhelming mandate to ruling party. It has worked for 10 years and it got complete majority, but somehow thinking of the people has changed. They may be influenced by other factors. Yes. Hence, at macro level we can consider, in general level we can consider, in ultimate analysis we can say that election outcomes can be manifestation of moral pulse of the society, provided that state is relatively free, democratic, there is free media, not a military type or a theological type like Iran or in Pakistan where we have dominance of military over democracy. Not in that, or not in Bangladesh where the electoral institutions can be not free and fair. In case of our country, our democratic institutions are much more strong and there are lots of checks you can consider, including by civil society, by, let's say, social media, by judiciary, that even if there are so many manipulative factors, still people show their way in elections, and that way we can say it is outcome. However, there are so many issues and challenges in any democracy, let's say that. That is how way forward. This, even if it is the moral, let's say that pulse, but that does not mean that there are no problems. There are lots of problems if you talk our democracy or in any democracy, let's say that. In any democracy, if elections are not free and fair, so that democracy, let's say that, can under serious threat. This. That is how we should talk a bit, how people can show their moral pulse, how the role of election commission that plays, even Supreme Court that it plays, and even let's say other members that play. And that is how they should try that people should get right information. That is how Chief Justice once highlighted that people are not getting true information, right information. Rather, media is blocking true information reaching to people. This you can say. So that is how, let's say, in era of artificial intelligence, social media, which we say revolution, information revolution, in the age of information revolution, people are not getting right information. Right? And when they will not get right information, the moral pulse will get skewed. Because morality depends on rationality. Rationality comes through thoda sa ethics aa jayega, critical thinking, this and that is how we can conclude on this. That is how we mean, let's say, when you write like this. So see, try to understand what we say. When you see our discussion, etc., so what we are trying to say. See, thought process should dominate. Thought process. Your thought process, the flow of the thought process, this is how you can say. Flow of the thought process should dominate over your structure and content. Right. This structure and content should not dominate your thought process. Can you understand the difference? See, the flow of, let's say you have to write in a flow. So where we have brought critical thinking, it has naturally come. It has naturally come about morality, etc. Thoda sa wo bhi aa gaya. Right. So it is the thought process that will have coherence and originality in your answer, let's say. But suppose you have planned that कि no, हमें कुछ यहाँ पे example लिखना है, ये वाला example लिखना है, तो आप examples लिखने लग जाओगे तो आपका जो फ्लो है ब्रेक हो जाएगा. उस एग्जाम्पल को स्पेस देने के लिए आपका जो फ्लो है वो ब्रेक हो जाता है. सो ट्राई टू, लेट्स से, ब्रिंग थॉट प्रोसेस. दिस थॉट प्रोसेस should guide your answer. This you can consider. That should be the thing. Right. So we'll show one copy how people write, and yes, it is someone copy, so I will not show name. I will try to, don't feel bad, but we just want to show that how it is written, right? Yes, this one. Anyhow, name is coming. We cannot remove your name. I know that the person has written 2 times mains examination. This is how I also came to know. So yes, it is a good beginning. Ashoka, leader, this is how. So Ashoka बहुत अच्छा beginning है. This. Now let's say that this is the paragraph. This is the introduction. तो इंट्रोडक्शन में ठीक है, अशोका से आप शुरू कर रहे हो तो इट इज नॉट अ प्रॉब्लम. वो लगा कि अच्छा इंप्रेशन आपने क्रिएट किया है. लेट्स टेक इट सेकंड पैराग्राफ में हम क्या लिखते हैं. दिस लीडर, द एबिलिटी टू सी द नीड ऑफ द पीपल, लाइक ट्रस्टिंग देम लीड टू दिस मेकिंग सच लीडरशिप, दिस एंड दैट, स्टार्ट इन्वॉल्विंग लार्ज सेक्शन. दिस, a good leader is one who says that we have done it. Now the statement that you can, ability, again ability, this and that, let's say. So what the problem is that, let's say that, what you are forgetting to write here is that you see, once you have introduced yourself now, then you should talk about leaders. Leaders play important role in society. They can bring even revolution in society. Their let's say personality has lots of influence on people. थोड़ा आप लीडर के बारे में लिखो पहले, राइट. सो उसके बाद फिर लिखो कि लीडर में लेट्स से कि ए लीडर कैन बी मोर पीपल ओरिएंटेड, ए लीडर कैन बी मोर सेल्फ सेंट्रिक. दिस, so that is how you can talk, let's say Vivekananda as a leader, let's say that Mahatma Gandhi as a leader. This, तो वो तो अशोका से भी बेहतर बिगनिंग हो सकता है, isn't it? या नहीं लिखा तो यहाँ लिख सकते हैं. A good leader, how we see this? A good leader, let's say कि Indian National Congress. Indian National Congress, let's say कि before coming of Mahatma Gandhi was known by more elite. It has confined reach, let's say it did not have reach to people. When Mahatma Gandhi comes, he has reached to the masses. How it is possible? Yes. So basically then we should talk about a leader. A leader can have profound influence. Leadership is influence also, you can say that. So a bit of leadership should have been written, or just leader we could have written. There are different types of leaders. Our world has seen so many such great leaders who have brought transformation in the society. Yes. So that way it should have started. Now, what do we mean by people's leader? It should tell also in that itself. We have done it. इसका मतलब क्या होता है? This. So whether it has told that followers, ability, leaders, efforts made by his followers. Yes, he is trying to explain, but it is not that clear, let's say that. When we say we have done, it means कि leader, even if leader has done, but leader, if people's leader, the leader will give the credit to people. Leader will give credit to people. Let's take a very good example. Now, let's say कि Satish Dhawan and APJ Abdul Kalam. So when, let's say that there was failure of a satellite launch, right, the Kalam did not want to address because he knew that the media wala would ask some difficult questions. So he was worried about this because he was the project director. Yes. So he was a project director. Then Satish Dhawan noticed it. That Kalam is under trouble. Let's say he seems to be under tension. Hey. Then he told to Kalam that I would go and address media. Leading from front. This, a leader is one, people's leader, that he will stood by his people. Yes. So he stands by his, this is how, no, his people. And that is how it happens that he goes and address media. Now next time, when they succeeded in launching the satellite, then he told that Kalam, you go and talk to media. Yes. So see, certainly a student may not necessarily have such knowledge, right? This, but what we are trying to say is that see, आप ऐसे लिखने में बड़ा बड़ा लिखने की कोशिश मत करो ना, बहुत बड़े बड़े चीजों की लिखने की कोशिश मत करो ना, आप थोड़े से बेसिक्स पे फोकस करो. दिस, हम यूपीएससी में हम क्या कर रहे हैं कि बड़ा लिखने के चक्कर में हम गैप्स क्रिएट कर दे रहे हैं अपने आंसर में. दिस, और वो कहीं ना कहीं हम उस बेसिक चीजों को एक्सप्लेन नहीं कर पा रहे. दिस, and that is how, let's say, the entire essay is written, but the basic aspect of the essay is not written. This, we will not even, when we check your copies, we will not see your example, etc. हमें उससे मतलब नहीं है. हमें मतलब है कि जो coherence है कि नहीं, जो meaning है वो उसको express कर रहा है कि नहीं, और उसी के context में वो लिख रहा है कि नहीं. Yes, that exam वहां से भी स्टार्ट कर सकते हैं. देखो, अच्छे एग्जाम्पल्स बहुत सारे हो सकते हैं जो एक इंप्रेशन क्रिएट कर सकता है, बट अच्छे एग्जाम्पल्स कभी भी पूरे एसे के कंटेंट का रिप्लेसमेंट नहीं है. दिस वी हैव टू अंडरस्टैंड. This now this famously said by various scholars, right? Collective responsibility. ये फिर से वही रिपीट हो रहा है तो थोड़ा सा जेनेरिक जैसा हो रहा है, एब्स्ट्रैक्ट हो रहा है, लेट्स से रिपीटिशन हो रहा है, फिर ट्रस्ट बहुत सारे टर्म एथिक्स टाइप का हो रहा है थोड़ा सा. दिस एथिक्स के आंसर में हम ऐसे ही लिखते हैं, राइट. दिस महात्मा गांधी, so basically see he was thrown out of the train na? But thrown out of train is not an example at all because he was not that time leader and those who threw they were also not leader, right? तो इस एग्जाम्पल का कोई कॉन्टेक्स्ट नहीं है. लेट्स से दैट दिस, yes, if you want to relate कि we this Gandhi who was this then type was just a lawyer, yes he was, then he started to evolve people, no, but then see question is not demanding to write development behind a leader कि what is inspired a leader to become a leader. Question is not focusing on that. Yes, yes. Yes, so that is not let's say important aspect. Then you have given so much emphasis on Mahatma Gandhi. Almost one page, second page is also running on that. Anyhow, there can be dearth of leader related knowledge, so that can be. But let's say that ki question context, you know that. That is how the example I was trying to say. This. ठीक है, अकबर यू कैन टॉक, बट सी आई गेस कि इससे बेहतर एग्जांपल्स हो सकते हैं. सिंस यू आर ट्राइंग टू राइट, सो आई विल नॉट से इट इज नॉट दैट बैड, बट यस स्टिल लेट्स से बिकॉज औरंगजेब दोनों तो एक तरह से मोनार्कियल सिस्टम का एग्जाम्पल है ना, राइट. तो मोनार्कियल सिस्टम है और उस समय सब्जेक्ट का क्या, लेट्स से कि सब्जेक्ट टू सब्जेक्ट ही होता था. So we could have chosen any such example which we can talk in recent times. That aspect you can see. This and lots of elaboration given. This contemporary times. अब आप नाम दे रहे हो अली बाबा दिस दैट, ठीक है, चलो चलेगा. But on that side it is less. नोकिया का एग्जाम्पल दे रहे हो कंपनी का, it is completed. See, Nokia and people, let's say rather we should talk about society. Our focus should have been more on society. This at the same time we have not focused. What the essay is not focusing on. See, ये essay का context होगा ना. Why, when, how, why we have asked this. A topic if it has been asked today, तो कहीं ना कहीं उसका थोड़ा context तो होना चाहिए. कॉन्टेक्स्ट ये है कि आज के डेट में वर्ल्ड में एक तरीके से जो पॉलिटिकल लीडर्स है, दे आर बिकमिंग मोर आई रादर देन वी. देयर इज मोर एंड मोर ऑफ आई रादर देन वी एस्पेक्ट, कंसंट्रेशन ऑफ पावर्स. सो अगर हम इस ऐसे में करंट डेवलपमेंट्स का रिफ्लेक्शन नहीं है, जो वर्ल्ड में एक तरह से जो ट्रेंड चल रहा है, देयर इज नो रिफ्लेक्शन इन दिस ऐसे. As I was trying to say, especially let's say Russia, Turkey, China, right? They have declared themselves as lifelong leaders. This authoritarian type of leadership you can consider this that way. थोड़ा सा और let's say कि corporate type का knowledge होता तो और अच्छा हो सकता है. Anyhow, like say कि Bill Gates is largely not considered people's leader, you know that, but Narayan Murthy, you can say that Narayan Murthy, Ratan Tata, they are more of people's leader, you can say that. This. So this is what we can consider when we are writing on this. And I'm curious to tell about your second answer, which has lost simply the theme. Just this right to self-defense. Right to self-defense is not always morally defensive, right? So certainly in those 8 essays, if you have in those 8 essays, if you have chosen this topic to write, I guess ki you were better in those 2 topics to write. That's why you have chosen. Now, don't you think that ki you have completely missed the context of the essay called in let's say Israel, let's say that Israel, Palestine. In recent times, most of the articles have written and right to self-defense that is linked to Israel. Because when Israel attacked, let's say that to Palestinians, and it has caused lots of, let's say that damage of, let's say that resource and human life, what it says, it has right to self-defense. It says it has right to self-defense. Another country which is doing right to self-defense is Ukraine against Russia. This. So I have seen this essay, the content I will say that this answer has completely missed the context, let's say that. Now, even if it is talking self-defense to individuals, but that also, let's say, not very effective. This. So it shows, let's say, lack of, let's say, recent developments, whatever you have, and whether you are able to deal those developments. Anyhow, that is a, let's say, learning process, and gradually you learn all these things, we can say, so you will improve. But what we are trying to say is that, you see, ऐसे लिखने का कोई ऐसा कोई ट्रिक नहीं होता है. ऐसा नहीं कि हाँ कुछ ट्रिक्स मिल जाए, ये मिल जाए, no. You have to inform by those basic things, the basic elements that we have told, and you have to adhere by that. Yes, certainly, let's say that you should have some good facts, some good examples, some good quotes. Let's say they are important, but let's say those things you can have when you read your GS paper, those all papers, you have any let's say that science optional subject, so that also help you in building knowledge. This. Then ultimately, suppose even if you lack some facts, but power of articulation, power of your writing can hide your weakness and can still influence examiners. This. And that is how you should try to learn. This is how we can talk about essay. Right? In our essay, what we try, we have not left, let's say, even when they started asking philosophical type, that time also we kept asking subject type wala essay. Generally, in one section, we ask philosophical, in another section, we ask, let's say, subject type. Until fourth test, this is how we try to maintain. Thereafter, let's say we keep, it depends on us, we can make all 8 philosophical, or we can make 4 and 4, let's say, philosophical and subject, because we want that you should have also practice on non-philosophical type, as UPSC can, let's say, change its trend. Means it does not, as I was saying that, 7:1 ratio they have followed, 4:4 means 50:50 ratio they have followed, and last year they have followed 5:3 ratio, 5 philosophical, 3 non-philosophical. This. So that is what we can say, and we can conclude on this. Yes, if you have any your let's queries, anything that you have, so you can ask. Means anything that you want to know about this. Anything? Yes. So now, basically, let's say that this would be the biggest part. And we have to write over 1000 words. this. So when we are writing introduction, so suppose we write over 100 words, this, that aspect. Then interpretation can be another, let's say that 100, 150, this. Now let's say that this can be also 100, 150, this. Over, let's say that it's 80, 90, around this. This it should not be too short. This is how it. मतलब 2-3 लाइन का तो नहीं होना चाहिए conclusion. Length of the answer decides length of conclusion. सिर्फ 150 वर्ड्स आप लिखते हैं जीएस में, तो आप 1-2 लाइन का भी कंक्लूजन लिख सकते हैं. लेकिन 250 वर्ड का आप लिख रहे हो, 250 वर्ड्स यू आर राइटिंग, so certainly length of conclusion will be bit. This now let's say कि how much words left thereafter. Now, so it's like 250, 350 around, 350, 400. So almost it is 600. This.
काफी बार ये लगता है कि ये पैराग्राफ पहले आना चाहिए, तो ये प्रायोरिटाइज कैसे करें कि मतलब जो उस टाइम पे क्लियर होगा इस ऑर्डर में मतलब ज्यादा अच्छा है, तो उस टाइम एक तो प्रेशर भी इतना होता है कि लिख दिया है लेकिन ये के साथ नहीं डालेंगे. जो
देखो होता क्या है ना कि परफेक्शन नहीं हो सकता है, ट्राई टू अंडरस्टैंड. तो आर्टिकुलेशन का ब्यूटी ही यही होता है कि मान लो कोई चीज आपका छूट गया पहले, तो आप उसको बाद में कहीं ना कहीं इनकारपोरेट कर लो. राइट. होगा क्या ना कि देखो एग्जामिनर क्या करता है या उसका क्या मतलब है कि वो कहीं ना कहीं आना चाहिए. वो कहाँ आ रहा है ठीक है, वो जगह अलग हो सकता है. जैसे किसी ने अशोक से लिखा है, अशोक का एग्जाम्पल दिया है, इट इज गुड, ठीक है. मतलब वो हम ये नहीं कहेंगे कि वो महात्मा गांधी होना चाहिए, वो सही इंट्रोडक्शन है. तो लेकिन लेट्स से कि अब नाउ आफ्टर दिस ही में थिंक अच्छा महात्मा गांधी वाला लिखना चाहिए, यहाँ लिखना चाहिए. तो बात उसका नहीं है कि अगर आपने महात्मा गांधी नहीं भी लिखा होता वहां पे जहां पे हम कह रहे हैं, वेयर आई एम सेइंग again that the power of explanation, let's say the basics you adhere. If you are trying to explain the basics terms of the essay while writing, not कि जैसे कि definition type हमने लिखने शुरू कर दिया, ऐसे भी नहीं करना है. You have to define the term while writing and explaining. जैसे कि आप आर्टिकल पढ़ते हो तो उसमें किया जाता है, right? ऐसे नहीं कि भाई morality is about right and wrong, it depends on individual value, ऐसे तो लिखेंगे नहीं ऐसे में, right? Rather, while explaining, you can say it has a sense of rightness and wrongness, right? Which involves critical thinking that we were saying. So, if you adhere to, let's say, you should have in your mind कि somewhere I have to, while writing, explain the terms also. This, and then let's say that कि I have to, let's say, give thesis, antithesis, let's say that. If you follow the basic rules of the essay, if your content is somewhere, let's say not necessarily here where it is needed, somewhere else you have kept, still it will not be undermining your overall marks. Yes, still you will fetch the good marks because there is coherence. Yes, and it will happen. Yes, practice will try to eliminate this. If you have practice, it can eliminate this.
ध्यान देने लगते हैं कि जो है एक्सप्लेन करना भूल जाते हैं, ठीक है. तो और ये होता है मेरे साथ भी ऐसा कि जब आप बता रहे हैं रिलेट कर रहे हैं बहुत ज़्यादा ट्राई करता हूँ यहाँ से रिलेट कर रहा हूँ तो एक मतलब और उसमें एग्जाम्पल में बहुत ज़्यादा कोट करता हूँ. उसका कुछ मतलब एक लिमिट रखता हूँ कि हाँ अगर 3-4 मिनट डालते हैं, क्योंकि मुझे वो पर्सनली जो फील होता है ना कि जैसे कि मैं कहीं जैसे कॉलेज से कोई चीज़ लिख कर रहा हूँ तो कुछ रिसर्च डेवलपमेंट में तो वो एग्जाम्पल्स में भी डाल सकता हूँ. तो ये करना सही नहीं है. जैसे जीएस में वो वर्क करता है, बट जैसे क्या होता है
देखो अब चॉइस ये है कि डिपेंड करता है कि नेचर ऑफ टॉपिक्स क्या है, बट फिर भी एक स्टैंडर्ड होना चाहिए। मान लो स्टैंडर्ड स्टैंडर्ड ये है कि 4-5 वेराइटी आप लेके आ रहे हो, तो ये एक हेल्दी रेंज का है, ठीक है। 4-5 वेराइटी है, हेल्दी रेंज का है। अब आप अगर इसको लेके ज्यादा जा रहे हो 8-10 में, राइट, तो ये ज्यादा हो रहा है, और इस ज्यादा के चक्कर में आपका पूरा ऐसे खराब हो रहा है, राइट। तो हम बहुत ज्यादा कर सकते हैं कि ठीक है एक और हमने बढ़ा दिया, लेकिन हमें ऐसे का जो ओवरऑल जो शेप है, एक स्ट्रक्चर है, उसको भी तो हमें देखना है, दिस। तो दैट इज व्हाट वी शुड डू, एंड इट इज नॉट मैनेजेबल। आई विल टेल कि इट इज नॉट मैनेजेबल। ये हमने क्रिएट किया है ना, मार्केट ने क्रिएट किया है कि आप लिंक करो। यूपीएससी ने नहीं क्रिएट किया है लिंक करो ना। यूपीएससी ने तो बोला है कि आपका आंसर ओरिजिनल होना चाहिए, एनालिटिकल होना चाहिए, एंड क्लियर व्यू होना चाहिए, ठीक है। यस, देखो ये दिस इज अ चैलेंज, दिस इज अ चैलेंज, लेट्स से दैट। तो चैलेंज में ये होता है कि अब हमें ये देखना है कि प्रैक्टिस कब करना चाहिए। तो देखो अभी क्या है कि दो तरीका है कि कुछ लोगों के माइंड में पहले से ही होता है, प्रीलिम्स के पहले से ही, कि जैसे ही हमारा प्रीलिम्स हो जाएगा हम ये पेश करने वाले हैं, तो अपना वो प्रैक्टिस करना उन्होंने शुरू कर दिया, तो उन्होंने एक अपना माइंडसेट बना लिया था। दूसरे लोगों का अलग अलग प्लान हो सकता है, तो ये डिपेंड करता है कि इंडिविजुअल का प्लान क्या है, उसका लेवल ऑफ कंफर्ट क्या है जीएस के लिए, ऑप्शनल के लिए, उसके पास नोट्स है नहीं है, कौन सा अटेम्प्ट दे रहा है, तो ये सारे फैक्टर गवर्न करता है दिस। इसके बावजूद भी ये है कि देखो शुरू में जरूर आपको एक दो लिखने की प्रैक्टिस करना चाहिए, ताकि एक आपको शुरू में एक ये लग जाए आइडिया कि वेयर डू आई स्टैंड, दिस। यस 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 यस, वो कॉन्फिडेंस भी देता है और चीजों में। उसके बाद जैसे जैसे आप जीएस पढ़ते हैं, जीएस पढ़ते हैं, ऑप्शनल पढ़ते हैं, तो देन देयर आफ्टर यू स्टार्ट गेनिंग लॉट्स ऑफ इंफॉर्मेशन। जब इंफॉर्मेशन आइडियाज, दिस इज हाउ इट इज। तो देयर विल बी ए मिडिल लेवल प्रैक्टिस, लेट्स से कि वंस यू गेन इट देयर शुड बी मिडिल लेवल, वंस यू हैव रिवाइज इट टुवर्ड्स एंड। ऐसे का क्या है, कभी एक ही दिन बैठ के 2-3 ऐसे लिख दो, क्या करना है, इट इज जस्ट ए पीस ऑफ राइटिंग, तो लिखना ही है इसको। जीएस एक अलग इसे एक्सरसाइज होता है, उसमें याद होना चाहिए, रिवाइज करके जाओगे तभी टेस्ट लिखोगे, ऐसे में ऐसा कुछ है नहीं, राइट। तो हम तो लगातार एक दो प्रैक्टिस भी कर सकते हैं बस। और मुझे लगता है कि कभी भी ऐसे का प्रैक्टिस दो ही हमेशा करना चाहिए। आप कोई भी एक टॉपिक सेलेक्ट करो ताकि एक यूपीएससी जैसा लगे। देखो एक ऐसे आप लिख रहे होते हो ना, तो आपको ना तो सेलेक्ट करना है बस, आपको ये चैलेंज नहीं है कि जो 3 घंटे का चैलेंज होता है 3 घंटे में 2 ऐसे लिखना है। अब 2 ऐसे में लिखते लिखते होता है कि एक ऐसे लिखा, दूसरे के लिए टाइम नहीं है, एक ऐसे लिखते हुए दिमाग खराब हो गया, तो फिर दूसरे के लिए वो भी खराब हो गया। तो अगर हम एक ऐसे को प्रैक्टिस कर रहे हैं ना, तो दैट्स नॉट द लेट्स से कस्टमाइज सिचुएशन। So always try to practice 2 essays in 3 hours that you adhere yourself, so that ki at least ki you are facing that situation which you will face in UPSC. Yes. So ऐसे this is how you can, yes, once you reach to a level of comfort कि ठीक है अब I can improve, या लगता है कि इस बार हम इतना ही कर सकते हैं, एक होता है, तो yes, stop that। इसलिए कि जीएस को भी रिवाइज करना है, ऑप्शनल भी रिवाइज करना है, तो 2 महीने में हम एक अपना लिमिट सेट कर लेते हैं कि हाउ मेनी ऐसे आई हैव टू प्रैक्टिस, हाउ मेनी जीएस टेस्ट आई हैव टू गिव, एंड हाउ मेनी ऑप्शनल टेस्ट आई हैव टू गिव। इसमें एक इंटेलिजेंट चीज आप अप्लाई कर सकते हो कि हर सेक्शन का टेस्ट तो होना नहीं चाहिए। जैसे जीएस में ही मान लो कि कुछ कुछ मेजर सेक्शन का आपने टेस्ट लिख दिया ना, बाकी आप स्किप कर लो ना। ऑप्शनल में भी है कि एक दो स्किप कर सकते हैं ना। हमें रूल बुक की तरह ये नहीं कि हर टेस्ट देना जरूरी है, इसलिए कि आपको एक बार अपना वीकनेस पता चलता है बस। और वो वीकनेस क्या हो सकता है? राइटिंग स्किल हो सकता है, प्रेजेंटेशन हो सकता है, आर्टिकुलेशन हो सकता है, स्ट्रक्चरिंग हो सकता है. These are the problems. And if your problems are related to structuring, articulation, structuring, तो ये writing practice चाहिए. And your problems are not related to these things. Problems इधर की remarks में ये आ रहा है कि knowledge, content problem, तो पढ़ने की ज़्यादा ज़रूरत है. This. So that way we can strategize and balance, right? So any other question from online people? Anyhow, basically we had planned to discuss the topics, but I will have a separate recorded lecture for those topics, generally for test discussion. Those who have written tests, so we will give you recorded discussion. You can watch it, because if I start discussing, it will take lots of time. And try to follow. Many a time, knowing how to write, what to write, becomes more important than practicing essay writing. This. Because unless we know what mistakes we are doing, just ruthless practice will not help you. Which I say that 0 multiplied by 0 equals to 0. So try to make 1 plus 1, 11. So let's say all the best. Okay.